and Obama was scandal-free. It is glaringly apparent that many who support the present administration are either racist, steeped in religious beliefs, ignorant, or as my mother used to say, just plain dumb. They have chosen to support a president who has a proven record of being sexually condescending to women, will not oppose the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan and other hate organizations, is indecisive, condescending to anyone who challenges him, and hides behind his Twitter account rather than dealing with the real issues in our country and around the world. And to put icing on this cake, he is a proven liar.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, as we continue to get more and more news stories about the oil tankers that were attacked in the Strait of Hormuz, apparently by the Iranians, we're going to take a look back at why this is all happening now and what information is coming to the front that they are terrified of getting out there, and why this could be one of the causes for this conflict. You guys are going to want to stick around, check this out, plus a whole lot more. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button, especially thank you to everybody who's got us past the 200,000 subscriber mark. This is really a big deal, so all thanks to you guys, but mostly all thanks to God. And also, if you guys want to help out, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and don't forget to hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. So today, obviously, we are going to be looking at the Q posts, and here are the latest ones. We're still in a holding pattern. We're at Q post 3349 from May 26th. And we're quickly approaching almost a 1 month mark. It's been about 3 weeks since Q has dropped. So that is where we are at as of today. And with that, we are going to go forward. And really what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the story of what happened in the Strait of Hormuz with the tankers that were attacked allegedly by the Iranians. And we're going to get a little bit of a backstory, I think, for some of you guys who are new here. But more importantly, this is just information that we have to reiterate. What happens is, even though we're not getting new Q posts, we're getting news every single day that's showing us more proofs of Q, if you will. And how is that happening? Well, it's happening through future proving past. And I actually think that the information that's been dropped on these boards is having a huge effect on the events of today, especially when you look at what's happening with Iran and why they are so scared, and why they would want to start a conflict globally with the United States in the way that they are. There's a reason why they're emboldened, and there's a reason why we're in such a battle with their governments, the governments of these other countries with regard to Iran and North Korea, and their subsequent affiliation with countries like Russia and China, and how this is more of a global chess game than people really understand. And we're going to talk about why it could be, what are the possibilities behind the exact reason for this conflict coming up here in the Strait of Hormuz, where they're targeting, apparently, allegedly, oil tankers with mines that were stuck to the sides of the hulls in an attempt to either disable them and or to, I guess, stop them. Didn't look like they were trying to sink them, obviously, but they obviously disabled these tankers. And we're going to talk about that, plus what's going on with Facebook and social media, and just we're going to continue to cover these stories as they come out. So with that being said, I always like to encourage everyone to come back here to the landing page, watch these last few videos if you want to get caught up, and make sure you share them on your social media, because the suggestion algorithm here on YouTube, with its computer or machine learning, whatever they call it, the people who run YouTube are being very straightforward, saying that they're not going to forward content that they deem on the border or controversial, that doesn't in any way violate any of their terms of service, but is considered basically the wrong think, or political dissent that they don't want on their platform. They're going to target political individuals who report the news, such as myself, and give their opinions, such as myself and others, and they're going to target us, mercilessly until we're all removed. And you can see it with a lot of the content creators. I mean, a lot of the content creators that I put here and feature for you guys are under attack right now. Look at what's happening with Steven Crowder and Paul Joseph Watson and SGT and even China Uncensored. They get demonetized. So does Secure Team, just got demonetized. We're all having problems with it, right? So The point is that YouTube won't share this content, so you have to come manually hit the share button, and that's how we get around it. I mean, there's no other way to do it. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that share button if you guys want to get this content out there and this information, because we're going to cover things that the mainstream media just won't touch with a 10-foot pole. And now they're trying to turn YouTube into the mainstream media. So we have to stand up against this and say, no, we want this to work in a free and democratic way, and we want it to be an open speech platform as it was promised, as it was guaranteed through legislative agreements, including the Communications Decency Act, more importantly in Section 230. These big tech companies, and I hate to get on a little tangent here, but these big tech companies signed into an agreement which stated that they are not publishers, that they are platforms, and that they cannot act as publishers, but they have obviously shown a bias against conservatives and especially Christians with this Pinterest story. I mean, for me, I'm a conservative Christian evangelical, and I feel like I'm one of the most, targeted people on this platform because, and thank God, we've made it to where we are and everything is the way it is. But I feel like, they're trying to remove individuals who have a voice that goes against their narrative, and they're trying to they're trying to make the mainstream media model work on YouTube, and it just won't work because YouTube's about individuals sharing their opinions, and that's why people watch it. I know that's why I love watching it. That's why I love featuring these channels, because I like listening to their opinions, and many others on YouTube. And I barely watch TV anymore besides a few shows on Fox here and there, and some other things, maybe like Live PD or something. But the fact is, I know I'm going off on a tangent here before this video even gets started, but this is really important because I have to address this because it is happening every single day, and it's getting worse and worse. You have even some channels that I don't watch, and I'll admit I don't watch a channel like Black Pigeon Speaks, but he got 500,000 subscribers, kicked off, no explanation, and then they put him back on after a bunch of people complained, and it just shows that it can happen to anyone. So if you guys want this channel to survive and you want to keep seeing me make this content, please just hit the subscribe button and support the other content creators here on the platform on YouTube who are being targeted by this unfair practice, which it's impossible to tell if it's even happening to you because it's all cloak and dagger, and it's all hidden behind closed doors. So we're getting little glimpses into the thinking of big tech and social media companies, especially with things like Pinterest, where it's become obvious that Pinterest is anti-Christian, and if you're pro-life, they're against you. They're pro-abortion. So I mean, those kind of things we need to know that. If you're claiming to be like an impartial, unbiased platform, and then you're taking a partial and biased stance against a large swath of the country of U.S. citizens and global citizens as well, then we need to know that's got to be a part of your transparency. And even Susan Wojcicki was in a conference with Vox, of all people, the people who are attacking Steven Crowder. They had a whole interview, and she's basically saying, well, don't you guys get it? If we take down Crowder, then we're going to have to take down rap videos. Because I've pointed this out a million times. You can't tell me that my content is more controversial than this person, Childish Gambino. If you want to, go ahead and look him up. But he's a rapper who makes a rap video where he's literally, there's a portion of his rap video that's monetized on YouTube where he simulates a mass murder. And you're like, am I more controversial than that? But no. They're in a protected class. They're in a different category of content than us. We, on the other hand, Christian conservatives, and in my particular case, evangelical conservative, we're the ones being targeted with this demonetization and not getting our videos suggested, and we're on the border, whatever that means, and we're controversial. So this was an important point I had to make at the beginning of this episode. So let's just get right into the actual story itself. Here's the story. The U.S. says video shows Iran removing mine from stricken tanker. Of course, we don't know what to believe here yet. The official story coming out of the U.S. Military is saying that basically what happened was Iran planted these mines on the side of these tankers to disable them as some sort of show of force, and that they have video apparently of what they claim to be an Iranian Revolutionary Guard in the process of, as you can see here, what they say is removing a mine from the side, that an unexploded ordnance that they had put up, but it had not succeeded in detonating, that they went and removed that. So, take it with a grain of salt. This is the latest breaking information. But what we can do is go back to where we've been told about the connections between Iran, the Obama administration, and why the whole Iran deal actually happened. And if you watch the mainstream news, they're going to tell you that the Iran deal was about, keeping nukes out of Iran and da 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 da. That's all good and well. But I think, in my humble opinion here, that there's a lot more to this story than the media will cover. And that's why they're trying to shut down the, other sources of information, because they don't want this information getting out here, because it could actually give more of a motive. It could explain the motive behind why all of this is happening as it is happening now. Now, I did a video recently that you all should go check out, which is here called, and this was a few days ago. I think this was actually before this attack on these tankers, coincidentally. But it basically explains in detail the allegations made against Obama and Clinton and others who were framed, and this includes EU officials, who were framed into the Iran deal and into the concessions that they were making globally, because they had so much dirt on these individuals. For example, with the Clinton Foundation and the hundreds of millions of dollars that were taken in from foreign governments, and then the obvious pay for play that was happening in return for that money, especially when you look at the Uranium One scandal and other scandals, that they had them over a barrel. They were saying, we're gonna show all of the corruption. We're gonna expose you. We're gonna blackmail you and extort you into signing this agreement where you don't give us your money. You can keep all the money that we gave you. We want you to give us the real money, the big boy money, the USA Treasury money. We want pallets of cash on planes and billions of dollars in sanctions relief. That's what happened. And I explained it in this video with regard to a theory posted by the famous Twitter account, or infamous, depending on who you're asking, at Draw and Strike, who writes for the Epoch Times. I'm not sure his first name. Cates is his last name. The writer for the Epoch Times. So that was his theory, was basically putting together stuff that we had already figured out here on the Q boards a long time ago. And that was the whole video, as I point out that we knew about that a long time ago when Q was exposing this information to us. And to go further into that, here's one Q post that I think is completely relevant to today's discussion with regard to Iran and what's going on, where it talks about Hassan Rouhani, the president of Iran, or I think he's the mullah, or excuse me, he is the president of Iran. And it says, who paid Hussein to attend Harvard Law School? Who is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? So these two things are really important. Is anybody in the mainstream media, and I'm asking a genuine question here, will anybody at NBC, CBS, Fox, CNN, wherever, will any of you out there dig into the fact that there is a direct connection between Barack Obama's tenure at Harvard and some sort of financial backing that was coming from Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? That'd be a great place to start if you're any mainstream news organization, because we've done the research here on the channel, and what it looks like is that through these different grants and scholarships that were put together by the prince over there in Saudi Arabia, that somehow they were able to finance Barack Obama's attending Harvard Law School. So it says, why would Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, Saudi royal, pay Hussein to attend Harvard Law School? I wonder why, right? And this is a really good question. And I think this comes down to what you have with MBS and then Prince Al-Walid and the two factions inside of the Saudi royal family. I think, first of all, Q's told us the Saudi royal family is one of the most powerful families in the world. It's up there with the Rothschilds and the Soros. And you have the Saudis, who apparently, according to Q, have about $4 trillion plus in wealth. Now, that should boggle anyone's mind to think of a single royal family that has $4 trillion plus worth of assets and wealth. And if you take that into consideration, right, what I believe the whole Prince Purge thing was, and this is we're going to keep jumping all over the place. Okay, so if you guys will remember what happened in Las Vegas. There was the horrific massacre that happened in Las Vegas back in early November of 2017, or October, excuse me, I believe, of 2017. And what's been alleged, and I've talked about this in previous videos, is that President Trump was there in Las Vegas that day, that night, for a clandestine meeting, presumably with somebody like Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, or one of the factions of the Saudi royal family, and that the whole thing went south quick, and that what happened that night, allegedly, theoretically, possibly, according to what we've put together from the Q boards and everything, is that President Trump was there clandestinely meeting with the Saudis to negotiate some sort of agreement to, fix the problems of the past. So why the Iranians and the Saudis, factions of the Saudis, were blackmailing and extorting our political officials. So President Trump, being that he has not been blackmailed or extorted by these individuals, went to try to negotiate a deal with them to either, I guess, try to fix whatever he can, because it's like, how do you really fix this situation if it's in fact true that they were extorting and blackmailing them with information that showed their guilt? He tries to fix it. We have this horrible tragedy, and then they were going to try to pin that on his back, but thankfully he got away from there clandestinely without anybody knowing. And when that happened, that was when, right after you saw the purge of the Saudi princes, where we basically went to Saudi Arabia and said, look, you need to arrest these people. You need to fix this corruption, because you have princes who are buying enormous amounts of influence in our country and orchestrating these horrific, attacks, allegedly. So that's just a theory. It's a theoretical thought about what could have happened there. So if you put that together with what we've seen, it also says, was Hussein a prominent political figure or a person of influence at the time? No. Who is Valerie Jarrett? So Valerie Jarrett is Barack Obama's right-hand person, whatever you want to call it. And she was born in Iran. And she's the one who hired Michelle Robinson, who later became Michelle Obama, right? And this is really where it gets weird. It just shows how they were all in this same circle. And so many people have alleged that if you look at Barack Obama from just a purely political standpoint, he was, in fact, in favor of collectivism, in fact, in favor of socialistic policies. He's in favor, the whole Obamacare thing was just an enormous step in the wrong direction for our country, trying to collectivize Medicare and collectivize healthcare, and then to also socialize our basically our entire government. And this was a huge problem that I think a lot of people in our government recognized, but nobody was really actively standing up to these people, because they controlled all the levers. And not only did they control all the levers, but as it says here, they were working with different people, the former mayors and current mayor of Chicago, Rahm Emanuel and Richard Daley. And this is how it all happened. Chicago, the everything that you could imagine with the corruption and chaos in Chicago, it would breed a candidate like Barack Obama. I mean, if you think about it, just look at the murder rate in Chicago right now. The city is in shambles as far as having law and order, and they've done everything they can to basically ignore the problem, and you never hear about it on the news. There's murders there almost every day, and nobody talks about it. But that's kind of getting on a side to what we're talking about here with the connection that can be made between the Iran deal. And it talks here about Merkel, Kerry, Brennan, and Hussein should be very nervous, plus 29 other people. So President Trump, I think, has been trying to clean up the mess that was left by the individuals who were previously in office, because it is a national security threat to have all this information out there that they are threatening to release. Now, of course, we're able to put a lot of it together by looking at the facts, looking at the suspicious travel schedules of some of these people. You have John Kerry going to Iran and giving them advice on how to get around the U.S. Policies until a friendly ally can be put back in the office. I mean, this is insanity. Talk about a violation of the Logan Act. And then You have John Brennan, who gets on CNN and gets paid $3,000 an episode to tell you that basically the president's a racist and he's a liar, and that everything that Brennan did was great and good, and that him spying on Trump and spying on American citizens without any predication or warrant, and abusing the FISA courts and abusing the super surveillance system, the hammer that they stole basically from the NSA and then used illegally, that was all okay because it just is okay. And Merkel should be nervous because, I mean, think about what Merkel's doing. Merkel runs this new EU gang, this EU mafia, whatever you want to call them, of individuals. It's less a government, more of an aristocracy, unelected, unaccountable individuals making proclamations that have to be adhered to by the member states, and it's really a very terrible setup for the sovereignty of the European countries in general. But that aside, then it talks about the cash and the pallets of cash and the transport. So anyway, just to give you an idea without going through this whole thing, let's just think of it this way. What we're looking at here is President Trump trying to clean up a mess that involves blackmail and extortion of the highest ranking officials in our country who sold our country out because they were trying to cover their own butts, allegedly. And now we're in the process of literally picking up the pieces and cleaning up the mess. And now you have this happening in the Gulf of Oman, where you have the tanker that has been attacked and now they're trying to push us into war. Well, could that be just another reason that we are, trying to basically negotiate with Iran and say, look, you can't keep extorting and blackmailing the United States with this information? So that might be where the real conflict is going to come to a head, in my opinion. So with that being said, of course, a couple of stories here exclusive. Facebook's process to label you a hate agent revealed. So apparently this guy right here, the pale-faced, which that's not a derogatory thing. That just, he looks like he's sick. Like he looks like he's about to vomit or something. Like that's really pale. That's like the color you turn when you're about to throw up. This guy, Mark Zuckerberg, apparently the Facebook monitors your offline and online behavior, because they're going to categorize you as a hate agent. So if you share a Tommy Robinson link, or if you share an InfoWars link, or if you, happen to like a Steven Crowder show, or if you happen to watch Philip DeFranco, I mean, believe it or not, you're going to be basically labeled a hate agent by Facebook, and they're categorizing you, and then they're going to limit you, and they're going to restrict your freedoms digitally, which is great because it just shows that they're showing who they really are. I've stopped using Facebook, but now I feel like I need to get back on Facebook because I feel like they did this on purpose to purge out all of the conservatives, because Facebook had such a huge impact on the 2016 election. So I really believe that the answer might not be leaving Facebook. And I hate to say that because we all know Facebook is LifeLog. It was created by DARPA. It's a way for you to basically give your information to them so that they can use that information against you. And that you're the product. You're not getting a service. You are the product. You are being bought and sold like it's a digital slave trade as far as your identity goes. And that's what we're up against here. And this is really bad, but it's getting much, much worse. And I just can't even tell you how bad this is. I'm going to leave links to these stories if you want to read them. Everything we've talked about here, there'll be a link to in the description so that you can read about it yourself. Yep, their hate agent, whatever, has been revealed. Yeah, we know the story. Here's a good one to end on. You guys saw a clip of this in the beginning, but we're going to watch some of the full video here. Here's a representative. This is an actual person who's been represented in Congress, reads a letter from, I guess, one of her constituents that basically calls all of us, everybody who supports Trump and who's a Christian, idiots and morons, or whatever she says. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. You guys can watch this for yourself. Let's go ahead and watch this full now.
Who publicly presented themselves as leaders. Secondly, the right wing went after Clinton for his indiscretions, and Obama was scandal-free. It is glaringly apparent that many who support the present administration are either racist, steeped in religious beliefs, ignorant, or as my mother used to say, just plain dumb. They have chosen to support a president who has a proven record of being sexually condescending to women, will not oppose the resurgence of the Ku Klux Klan and other hate organizations, is indecisive, condescending to anyone who challenges him and hides behind his Twitter account rather than dealing with the real issues in our country and around the world. And to put icing on this cake, he is a proven liar. I believe the crooked ascension of Trump to the Oval Office is a gauge that measures the declining patriotic and moral values of the many citizens of America, as well as being the revelation of the hidden bigotry, judgmental attitudes that yet exist in many of those who call themselves evangelicals. This president has surrounded himself with yes men and women who apparently refuse to challenge his madness for fear of his wrath. I believe I can safely assume that the United States is no longer a democracy. A democratic government is one that is governed by the people or their elected representatives. In 2 years, this man has turned the tide and the nation is spiraling downhill quickly. My growing concern is that the Congress and Senate of the United States have more of a personal interest for themselves rather than a patriotic duty to the people they represent. The Republicans appear to have become a Trump cult, and the Democrats refuse to move against this man in a collective, decisive way. I remember the time that we were guided by principle and not by party. Congress, senators, you were not elected to collect a paycheck. You were elected to be the women and men of principle and maintain the health of a democratic nation. It does not take a genius to discern that this man wants to be a dictator in the truest sense of the word. He appears to be drawn to the evil and tyrannical dictators and is alienating our country from our closest and most trusted allies. This president praises the leaders of Russia and North Korea, while at the same time has been condescending to the leaders of Canada, the United Kingdom, and Germany, just to name a few. Something is wrong with this. Despite all of this, there are still many, including evangelicals and people of color, who are resolute in their support of this administration. Thomas Paine wrote, "Men must conquer their own spirits.
Time is now expired.
Even in the shadows of the guillotine, we must preserve and endure in spite of the threat." Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield back.
So, just to be clear, I take extreme offense to what that woman just said and did in our congressional House of Representatives there. You know, I understand, you know, it's fine. You're allowed to your viewpoints. You're allowed to share letters from your constituency. But the fact that she brought that to the floor and entered that into the record is disrespectful, I think, to a large swath of the population. And I think it just shows what the way the Democrats think about us. That's how they see us. That's, for the most part, the narrative they're trying to draw around conservatives and especially evangelical Christians, which I take a huge offense from these words because of the fact that I'm an evangelical conservative who, you know, espouses my opinion, and I think I do it in a very respectful way, but I do call out hypocrisy. I do call out bigotry. I do call out the idea of some sort of racism that they want to put on us, how somehow people who are you know, of color are more protected or more important than other people, or how white people are less than. You know, these ideas are not American, but they're trying to push them on you. And they weren't American back in the 50s when they were trying to say that people of color were less than, and they're not American today when they're trying to say that white people in general just aren't as should not be protected, should not have the same rights, should not be treated the same. I stand on both sides of that issue, and I think they're equally abhorrent, right? But these people who, in my opinion, are bigots, who, in my opinion, are racist, who, in my opinion, have these ideals that they want to poison our country with, get on the pulpit here as an elected official who otherwise, I mean, most of these people are not impressive people. These are people who would be making, what, $50,000, $40,000 a year at a desk job. Let's be honest. Like, if they weren't in Congress, there's not really discernible skill sets for most of these people. I mean, besides they went and got maybe some fancy degree, or that's pretty much it. So it's laughable when I hear that this kind of rhetoric being espoused to the country as a whole, and that these people believe it, and they believe that, you know, evangelicals are the problem, and that, you know, freedom of speech is the problem, and that having diversity of thought and opinion is the problem. These are the fascists. This is how fascism starts. Before you know it, it'll be like in China, where you have the Mao brigades roaming the streets and attacking anybody who even talks with logic. I mean, and sense, and espouses the ideals and principles of our Constitution. That's how bad this is going to get, because they don't want a two-party, diversity of thought system. They want a one-party authoritarian fascist system where their morals and their values are sacrosanct, and whatever you think, if it goes against their ideas, then you are bad. You are the enemy. You are a person who should not have a voice. You should be deplatformed digitally. You should be wiped out. You should lose your bank accounts. You should be thrown into the memory hole, never to be seen again. As Matt Drudge said, thrown into one of the many digital gulags that they will be setting up for us. And this is how it starts. And her kind of rhetoric is how, you poison the minds of the people of this country. So, and whether you're on the left or right, how can you listen to that and think for 1 second that that is not just a completely biased attack on innocent Americans who are exercising their constitutional rights to freedom of speech and freedom of religion and the freedom to choose politically who we want to lead our country? But with that being said, obviously, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there, because that's a good place to sign off. Before we go, a few more things you can do to help the channel. Come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media. Click the big red subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button if you guys like this content, want to see me make more, and leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all of this. Also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformU. That's at JustInformU on Twitter, the letter U. JustInformU is the Twitter handle. You guys come find me over here. Also, you can come find me over here on JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Links to different Q stuff, links to different news, and links to different breaking news. And of course, the videos from the channel are all here for you to check out. I encourage everyone to go look at that. And also, I have a new channel here, Just Informed Podcast. We're actually going to be having a new episode coming up really shortly here. So if you guys want to get that new episode as soon as it comes out, come here, click the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted, because we got one coming out very shortly here. Like I said, these videos are going to come out about on a once-a-week basis, or maybe a little less than that. And the content here is just going to be like interviews and different stories, like kind of a behind the scenes for the Just Informed Talk show. So I encourage you to go check that out. A couple other ways you can help out are both financial. You can come find me over here on Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk. There'll be a link in the description. Click this button to become a patron. With everything going on with YouTube and all that, all I know is that this channel, it will survive no matter what, as long as you guys keep supporting it via things like Patreon and other ways, because it really is you guys that are keeping this channel alive and that have kept it alive to this point. I would have never, let me stress this channel would never have made it to where we are today without your help and support. So thank you to everybody who contributes on Patreon. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or an honest donation. You guys are honest to, you guys are really what keep this channel alive. So thank you for your support. And before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. For today's God's Grace is Greater segment, I want to share this piece of scripture with you. It's out of Philippians chapter 2, verses 5 through 11. And it talks about Christian humility, or Christ's humility. And I've talked about this before on the show, like humility. What does it mean? It means being humble. It means being humble before God, showing reverence to God, understanding that only God knows everything and that you're not in control of certain things. That's what a big part of Christ's humility is. But I think this verse actually explains it even better than I could, obviously. So I'm going to share it with you. But it talks about Christ's humility and exaltation. So it says, again, Philippians chapter 2, verse 5 through 11, it says, "Make your own attitude that of Christ Jesus, who existing in the form of God did not consider equality with God as something to be used for his own advantage. Instead, he emptied himself by assuming the form of a slave, taking on the likeness of men. And when he had come as a man in his external form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even to death on a cross. For this reason, God also highly exalted him and gave him the name that is now above every other name, so that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of those who are in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God and Father." And I know that's pretty simple, and it's saying something that I think, a lesson that we learned through Christ. And I think that's the message I want to share, is that the lesson we learned through Christ is that when he came to earth and assumed the form of man, He knew that he had the power of God, but he humbled himself before God. He was obedient in the world of man as he lived because he wanted to live by example. And he wanted to show us the example for how to live a righteous life. And he did that. And that's the lesson I think we should take about humility and being humble before God. And so my prayer every day is, God, give me the strength and courage and wisdom to be your most humble servant. And I want you guys to say that prayer. And I want you guys to share that prayer with your family and loved ones, because that is a very important part of being a Christian, in my opinion. So I hope that message gets to you and yours. But that's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. As always, come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications, and smash it, hit it, punch it. Hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. That's going to be it for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.